Hey there, Internet friends. Trevor Starkey here with another episode of Movie Monday. This week I'm talking about Kingsman, The Golden Circle. The first Kingsman, The Secret Service, was a nice breath of fresh air. It kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody was really expecting too much from it. And then just became like this really fun, frenetic action movie that had a different tone than what we've seen in action recently. I'm so used to kind of the Jason Bourne-ification, even when you had like the secret agent Bond became much more Jason Bourne after Jason Bourne. This gave a different style to the action and the fight sequences, and this is very much in that same vein. Kingsman: The Golden Circle picks up sometime after the first movie left off. The one-off joke, or what could have been a one-off joke at the end of that movie, with Eggsy, played by Taron Egerton, and the Swedish princess that he was saving, could have just been completely left aside, but here it's blossomed into a real, genuine relationship, and Eggsy is, dreading meeting her parents for the first time because they are Swedish royalty. But he really loves her and kind of dives all in, goes full on with aplomb and everything. But he's obviously still reeling from the aftermath of having lost Harry in the first movie. And kind of things get thrown completely up on their end as, if you've seen any of the trailers, and this is, I guess, a minor spoiler, but it happens, 10, 15 minutes into the movie, Kingsman basically gets completely taken out with the exception of Eggsy and Merlin, and they go to their doomsday scenario and find a bottle of Statesman whiskey, and after drinking the entire bottle, they recognize that the Kingsman logo is hidden in there, and so they decide to go to meet the Statesman and investigate and figure out what's going on, and they find that there is basically an American counterpart to the Kingsman, and the Statesman, much like the Kingsman is very prim and proper, the Statesman is very much the American, Wild West kind of thing. You've got Channing Tatum playing tequila, you've got Jeff Bridges playing champagne or champ, you've got Halle Berry in there as ginger ale, and you've got Pedro Pascal playing whiskey. Those are the Statesman agents that we meet, and each of them really gets like a couple like really bright moments to shine. It's definitely very much still a Kingsman story though, so the focus always stays really on Eggsy and a returning Harry. We get to see kind of a flashback as to how Harry somehow survived the shot to the head that took him out in the last movie. We see that the Americans basically have this magic gel that can kind of repair the brain and in case of a headshot kind of thing. So, magic to bring Colin Firth back, but Colin Firth is definitely damaged, and he's dealing with the effects of having been shot in the head. His eyes gone, and he comes back into a like earlier state, so he doesn't remember ever being an agent until like they jog his memory eventually. So he's playing he's playing a much more like insecure version of Harry than we saw in the last film, and he's kind of his journey throughout the movie is really him battling with that. Other standout performance here, you have Julianne Moore playing Poppy. She's the evil mastermind in this one. She's basically a drug lord with a very, a fetish for Americana. So she's out in these Cambodian ruins somewhere, but she's built out like Poppyland, and it's, got a bowling alley and a diner and a salon and very like 50s nostalgia kind of thing, because she has to live on the outskirts of humanity because she is like the world's biggest drug lord and stuff. And her basic plan here is that she's kind of poisoned her own supply and is holding, a huge chunk of the world at ransom, basically saying, I've got the antidote, but if you want me to give it to you, you have to legalize drugs and the drug trade and give me a pardon and everything. And so, of course, that's where the Kingsman and the Statesman are really trying to get after her and save the world. So that's the big conflict here. But she shows really how villainous and sadistic she is in her opening scenes, where like in a new orientation kind of thing, she basically has the new recruit kill the old recruit by throwing him into like a meat grinder, and then I'll let you see what happens next. But lots of fun, charming humor, just like there was in the first movie. the movie kicks off with action, and there's a lot of great action sequences throughout. It probably doesn't ever reach the heights of the first movie, and specifically the church scene in the first movie. We don't ever really get a fight to that level of like frenetic choreography and destruction, but there are a lot of just great moments all around, and there's some wonderful little cameos that I don't want to spoil, but like they had me chuckling and laughing in my seats and stuff. So overall, it probably falls a little bit short of the first movie, but it takes a lot of what was great about the first movie and builds on it. It's not a complete rehash. It's not a complete retelling. It is like these characters have progressed and they have moved on, and certain things that came into play and I think were criticized a lot in the last film kind of get dealt with here. We get to see kind of the results of some of that, you know, more chauvinist-ish, I guess, material that we had in the first movie. We get to see like the real ramifications of it here. Yeah. All in all, really good movie. I had a lot of fun with it. One of the highlights of the year, especially in terms of action, because it's still so unique to anything else that's out there in the action scene. Just the frenetic action and choreography and cinematography of this movie is wonderful. Also uses music in a great way. There are a lot of places in there where I was like, yes, this like the music just adds so much to what's happening on screen. We've had a few of those kind of movies this year. It was very weird, and I tweeted out about this. Both this movie and Logan Lucky from a couple months back, which feature Channing Tatum heavily, both rely very heavily on a John Denver song, Country Roads Take Me Home. So, you know, what were the odds of that happening in 2017? Kind of crazy. Anyway, really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it, especially if you were a fan of the first movie and that style of action. I think in many ways it's a step up, but it doesn't quite reach the highest highs. It probably has like a higher average rating throughout the movie, but it doesn't have quite the peaks of that first movie because it was so new and fresh. And this doesn't really build upon that in the action realm, if that makes sense. But if you've seen Kingsman: The Golden Circle, let me know what you thought about the movie in the comments below. As always, I've been your host, Trevor Starkey from TrevorTrove.com. You can follow me at SnarkyStarkey on Twitter. And until next time, from here at the Trove, treasure your friends.